Okay, welcome back. We're going to create the high and low poly buttons. I'm going to speak a little less. My voice seems to be going at the moment, so I want to make sure I get through the tutorial. So we'll start with the D-pad. So I need to unhide the collection so I can see. And then I'm going to go Alt and Z in order to go see-through mode, and then numpad 7 to look at it from directly straight down. Shift right click to move our origin point to the middle of that circle there, so you kind of just play with that to get it right where you want it. And then Shift and A, bring in a cube. S for scale, scale it down. And then we want to move that so we can see it, so I'm going to come into a side view. I'm coming out of my see-through mode. I'm actually going to model this slightly higher up. Oops, I want to make sure I turn off snaps. So G and then Z, move it up so I can see it. And then we're going to drop it back into place afterwards. So with this, tab on the keyboard, and then we want to select all of our faces running around the outside of this cube. So holding down Shift to select more than one at a time. And then we're going to go right click and extrude individual faces. So right click and extrude individual faces, and you pull away or pull towards the asset, and then we can see that it's creating those for us. If we look at it from numpad 7 and see through again, we can just use this here to make sure that they're extruding to where we want them to, so it's about there. Cool, happy with that. And then the thing that I'm going to do straight away is to remove this bottom set of polygons. So I just want to see this asset by itself, so I'm just going to hide that for a second. So this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one can all delete, and I want to delete the actual faces. So we've got a see-through bottom. And then we want to start chamfering this guy. So the technique that I used to do this was we go 2 on the keyboard in order to have our edges selected. Make sure you're in see-through mode so we can select the edges behind as well as the ones in front. Come back out of see-through mode, so Alt Z by the way, in and out of see-through mode, and then we're going to go Control B for bevel, and we're just going to bevel those guys. We want a nice, ever so slight. It's not a huge amount of beveling that's on this part of the asset. And then here, so this can be complicated. It doesn't need to be. It shouldn't be too complicated to you when you watch me do this. But we're going to join these guys up here, that one to that one. We're going to join this one to this one, this one to this one, this one to this one, right? And we're going to do that all the way around, okay? And you'll see why in a moment. Well, obviously why is because we're making sure we don't have any kind of 5-sided shapes going on in here, but there's another reason why we're going to do this. Okay, right. So the reason we're going to do it is we want a nice flow running around the outside edge here. And what we're going to do is leave this line here, merge these two, put a line in there, so then we'll have a quad here and a quad there. And we're going to remove these two extra edges. So let me show you what I mean by that. So first of all, we select this edge, hold down Shift to select the one next to it, press M on the keyboard, and then at center, so M and then C. Then we're going to select this one and put a join in there. Then we're number 2 on the keyboard to select these 2 edges, and then hit delete. And then you want to delete dissolve edges. So D and then delete and then I on the keyboard. And if you want to know the shortcuts, and you see how that creates a nice curve now. So our topology is working in our favor. Same all the way around. So that's done that for us. If we were to add our subdivision surface on here now, we would see that it goes a little bit too soft. So I press tab so we can see it's a bit too like jello-like. So we're going to add an extra retaining edge along this bottom section just here. So if we go Control and R, click, drag, and just drop that one in just about there, and then we can see again what that looks like. Cool. Right click, make sure shade smooth turned on, and then also again remember that you want your auto smooth turned on, and it's set to around 60 to get these edges a little bit more smooth. Cool. So there's our D-pad. It's a little bit tall, so we can just go in there and edit that. So I would go see-through, 1 on the keyboard, select these bottom verts, G, Z, move those up, and then come back out of see-through mode and tab, and then G, Z, and bring it back down. We need our asset back. Let's bring it back. There she is. And we want to move this cube. We want to rename it actually in a moment into our high res. And this is our D-pad. D-pad. Cool. With that D-pad selected again, just G and Z, and just bring it up so it's where we want it. So something like that. Okay, cool. So there's our high poly D-pad. We're going to add the little circle cutout here. We can do that in Substance Painter, or we can do it in here. So if you do it in here, you do it exactly the same way as we made our little cutouts before. So we would create a sphere in there that would leave a little divot cut out of it. We'll do that now actually, just to show you. So we want to come into see-through mode again. Our origin points were almost in the right place. I'm just going to move it ever so slightly. Actually, no, I'm not going to move it because it should be where it. Make sure it goes back to where it was. That should be in the middle of our square. So I think our initial cube, I should say. So I'm just going to Shift A to bring in a UV sphere. Scale it down so it fits with the hole. And then come to a side, come out of see-through mode, make sure that's shaded smooth. Oh, why can't I see my cube? I think I undid a little too far. So I'm going to grab my cube and my sphere, bring those up so they're in place. Okay, and then just the sphere and how far I want that to cut in. I think around here. I want it to scale it a little bit, so I'm going to go scale and Z, flatten it a little bit so it's not so deep into the asset. I don't think it goes that deep into it. And then at this point, so remember, we probably want to make a low poly version of this later on down the line, so don't collapse your details on your D-pad. So now we've got our subdivision surface on here, and on the base I told you to collapse it and then do the boolean, but we're going to try and boolean this sphere on without collapsing the base first. I'm going to move that into there. I'm going to call this our cutout sphere, and then with our D-pad selected, we'll go to our modifiers. Let's choose boolean, and then we're going to select the cutout sphere, hide that cutout sphere, and then we can see that that's cut that nicely out of the D-pad for us. And we've still got these that we can make a duplicate of D-pad now. So Shift and D. Make sure you've got the asset selected in here. So Shift and D. Right click so just not move it, and then we want to move that into our low poly. If we go into our low poly now, we've got D-pad. I'm going to call it D-pad low. And then D-pad low can just have the boolean taken off and the subdivision taken off as well. And then you can go around. I think that's all. It doesn't really need anything else doing to it. Let's just have a quick look at it. Turn off that one. Ooh. Oh no, I think we had a crash there. Right, I will be back.